Yeah, so delighted to be joined by Irishman Robbie Dolan, who's kindly taken time out from a busy schedule in Australia to have a chat with myself and Fran ahead of the Friday Club this Friday evening. Robbie, firstly, thanks for taking time out to have a chat with us. And secondly, many congratulations. Your first Group 1 winner at Randwick, the spring champion on Profono the other day.
Yeah, thanks very much. Pleasure to be here. Yeah, it was a great day, very emotional day for everyone involved. But yeah, he was a very good horse and great to get the job done on him the other day.
And Robbie, your first Group 1 winner, we were looking at all the videos on social media and whatnot. And obviously, as you've quite rightly said, and rightly so, you got very, very emotional. It meant a lot to you.
Yeah, it did. Sort of lots of flashbacks of, coming over to Australia and sort of leaving everything behind and just sort of trying to have a crack. And then it was sort of a lot of pressure built up on the horse as well. He cost a lot of money and just got narrowly beaten on him the last day and was able to just retain the ride and then just to get the job done in a Group 1. It's just, it's what dreams are made of, I suppose.
And Robbie, as you said, he cost a lot of money. He's a rare commodity now. He's one of the last of the deep impacts. He cost 1.9 million as a yearling. And Richard Litt as well, obviously, he got the chance to train him. He's a young and up-and-coming trainer as well. So there was a lot of pressure on you, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was. Obviously, like you said, 1.9 million. The owners have paid a lot of money for him. There's a lot of pressure on them as well to deliver. And I think sort of he went down the start before due to the fact he was a bit green and he ran away from my whip. I went to hit him with the whip and he ran away from the whip. He got very, like I said, he was a bit green and probably horse and rider error. So then to keep the ride on him and get the job done, there was a lot of pressure building on my shoulders. But yeah, we got the job done. I always believed he was a good horse and it looks like he could be better than just a good horse,
And watching the replay of him winning the Group 1, it looked to go relatively straightforward, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It was sort of, that was the plan all along. I said to Richard a couple of days before the race, he said, "What do you reckon?" And I said, "I think if we can roll forward, the horse to beat will be the one that will be sitting outside, which is Gay Waterhouse's horse, which just won a Group 1 and was doing the 1 week backup. And thankfully we were able to just roll forward without too much commotion, sit outside the leader, went their own speed, and then he just pretty much just bolted in at the end, to be honest. But like some races don't go to plan, and that one just went completely to plan. They just happened to be Group 1,
And Robbie, he only made his debut less than 6 weeks ago. Am I right saying that?
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. I trialled him all as trials, to do lots of barrier trials and stuff over here in Australia, which is basically like, it's for the fitness and for the punters as well, where they can see, how the horses are going and stuff like that for betting reasons and whatnot. And he trialled unbelievable, all of his trials, and there was a lot of hype for him going into his first start. And I just come back from injury, from a 4 or 5 month injury from brachial neuritis, which is a nerve disease I got in my arm. And, it just happened so random that I managed to come back right in time to sort of ride him in his trials and then managed to get the ride on him. My first ride back from injury was him in his maiden. Then he went a couple of weeks, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks from a 7 furlong race into a 1 mile and 1 race, 1,800 meter race. That's where he just got narrowly beaten, and then straight up to the 2,000 meters next start in the Group 1. So he's come a long way in a short space of time. So I think they've put him away now into the paddock for a little while, and he should come back and compete in them sort of middle distance Group 1s next year and be very hard to beat again.
And Robbie, he couldn't have come at a better time for you as well. Interesting, he was your first ride back after being out for 4 or 5 months, and it's, as we all know, it's such a fickle game and you can be forgotten about so quickly. And after spending 4 or 5 months out, it's just hard to get back going again. But for a horse like him to come along at that stage, it couldn't have come at a better time, could it?
Yeah, like you said, it's, you're forgotten about so fast in this game. You could be on top of the world one day and the next, you're completely forgotten about. And it sort of happened around the time of everything that was happening with COVID, and the jockeys had to be isolated into a certain region. And I live outside of the region, but because I was injured, I didn't have to go inside of the COVID bubble and stuff like that. So just when I slowly come back from injury, I was able to barrier trial them in regions that a lot of the big jockeys weren't able to ride in. So it was sort of perfect in the sense that when I just come back, I was able to ride him and in his barrier trials and stick with him all the way through. And then I just slowly made the way back into the COVID bubble. And I was able to get on him the first day back riding was when he had his maiden, so it was sort of, I wouldn't say fate, but it was pretty cool that it just sort of panned out the way it did, and everything worked out in the end.
And Robbie, just tell us a little bit about his trainer, Richard Litt.
Richard's a great fella, great young trainer. He's had a couple of Group 1 winners now, and he's only been training a couple of years. He's, as well as a great trainer, he's a good fella. He actually, when I first came to Sydney, he gave me a place to stay. I slept in a spare room in his house and had nowhere else to stay. I just had living on me, my school bag and the small little suitcase. And he's, there's been times where I couldn't ride a winner on bloody Black Caviar, but he'd always have a few rides for me there. So he's a very loyal trainer, and we've had a fair bit of success together. So yeah, he's going to be a big trainer in the future, I reckon.
And that obviously was extra special for you as well, to ride your first Group 1 winner for Richard, who basically you've known since you arrived over from Ireland 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah,
definitely. It was, Richard, like I said, is not only a great trainer, but he's one of my good mates as well. And, we've had a lot of success together over the years. We won the Canberra Cup a few months back, which is a big listed race here. And it was sort of, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just a great story all in all,
And Robbie, just go back to just explain your injury again. It was nerve disease. How did that happen?
To be honest, the doctors didn't really know how it happened. I think it was sort of overuse of the nerves in a certain way. They still don't really know. But it sort of started out as just a pain in my arm. And then before long, after a few weeks, it was very hard for me to straighten my arm and sort of, I'd bend over to pick up a cup or something like that. And I was in a lot of pain. Went to the physios and they didn't really know what was going on. So then I went to the doctors and eventually they basically done all the tests and stuff like that and said it was this thing called brachial neuritis. Pretty much I was out for 4 months. I was in a lot of pain and I didn't even know if I'd ever get back riding. I couldn't even straighten my arms for a while. Sorry, the dog's gone mad here. Sorry. Pretty much it was just one of those things that I didn't know if I'd get back riding. And eventually I started to do infusions in my arm once a month for like 2 or 3 months. And it's like I just sit on a drip for 4 or 5 hours in the hospital. And it started to work. So we just took a long time to get back, but thankfully we were able to get back.
And that was obviously a very worrying time for you because you didn't know, you were left in a little bit of limbo. You didn't know if your career was going to basically be ended.
Yeah, it was sort of like you said, a query of what the hell I was going to do after. I didn't know if I'd get back racing or not, and sort of vying up the options of what else I could do. Like all I know is horses and stuff like that, and eventually it slowly started to get better, and we were just slowly starting to ride back. Riding out in the mornings and stuff like that, and it was still very sore. And then we got the infusions, and that started to work. And the rest is history.
Well, thankfully, all that's behind you now.
Yeah, thankfully.
And Robbie, just on that comeback from injury to land on Profondo, but yeah, you did say he got beaten on his second start where he jinked across the track or whatever from the whip with you. How much pressure going into that Group 1? I gather there was a lot of Australian riders trying to get on him, I would imagine, on the back of that run.
Oh, 100%. I'd say you were even ringing for the ride on him, Fran, were you?
Did he have 60 kilos?
Yeah, no, like you said, it was sort of horse and rider error. I pulled my stick through and he jinked over towards the rail very fast, just went down, beating a short head. And let's just say I got an awful abuse online over that, but I never really took notice of it, but I rang Richard and I just said, look, I'd love to stick with him. I know there'll be plenty of people trying to ring for the ride, but I just said if I didn't try and put my eggs in the basket and someone else got on him and won the spring champion, I'd be devastated. So, I just tried my best to stay on him, and thankfully the owners said they didn't think about putting anyone else on him because, he's a tricky sort of a horse to ride. He gets keen, and I sort of know the horse well, so they were happy to keep me on him, which was, to be honest, it was a shock to me, but I was very happy to stay with him.
Robbie, just going back to the start, me and Kevin know you well from your time in Ireland, of course. Kevin, I know your family very well, your dad, Bobby, and your brother, Barry, of course, I knew well. And we knew you, of course, last seen riding a couple of winners for Adrian Keatley in Ireland. Does that seem like a lifetime ago now?
It does. It sort of seemed like another life ago. It's crazy now. It sort of went through a race in 2012, 2013, and first went out to Paul Deegan's, rode a bit of work there for a while and learned a good bit off everyone there, and Kyler and the whole lot, and then sort of wanted to really just have a crack as an apprentice. So Adrian was just starting to make it big. He was getting a few horses here and there, and he gave me plenty of opportunities, rode a few winners for him, over and back to Ayr as well, which was great experience for me. And then sort of coming up towards 2016, I was like, getting one ride here, and then a few days later I was getting one ride somewhere else, and a few days later I was getting one ride here, and it was just sort of like, just didn't think that I was getting anywhere. I was just sort of floating. So someone mentioned to me, you should have a crack at going overseas, and didn't really want to go to England and stuff like that. So I chanced my arm at trying to get a visa for Australia, and sure enough, got it accepted, and I was on the flight a few weeks later.
And Robbie, you were always destined to become a jockey because, as Fran said, your dad, Bobby, rode over hurdles. He rode winners as a jockey. He looked after an Irish Derby winner in Grey Swallow. Your late granddad, Pater Matthews, was one of the top flat jockeys of his era. So, and a lot of your family, of course, are involved in racing as well. Your uncle, Peter Matthews. You've now got a first cousin, Jamie Powell, who's starting to get going over here as well. It was always the dream, and you're always destined to be a jockey?
Oh, 100%. I remember, the pictures on the wall when we were kids of, grandfather riding winners and training winners and stuff like that. We're always sort of, I wouldn't say around horses, obviously my dad working in Dermot Wells, you can't really be bringing in everyone, to be getting up on horses and stuff around the place. But it was sort of always on the back of my mind. I was going to work in the racing industry, and it was only sort of when I became of age where I suppose where I thought, I better go and do something now. I'm sort of fed up at school. I don't want to do this anymore. And I always went to the races since I was a kid. Every Cora meeting I was there and getting goggles off Kieran Fallon and bloody Johnny Murta and everything. So I was always pretty, into the game and stuff like that. And then I was doing boxing for a few years as well, and I was always real light. And then people were saying to me, "Oh, why don't you go and be a jockey?" and stuff like that. I was like, sure enough, everyone in my whole family is a jockey, so I might as well go and be a jockey. So then I applied for a race, and it was, rest is history.
And of course, your older brother Barry, he had a few rides as an amateur here. He's doing very well for himself. Is he still in Ocala in America?
He is, yeah. He's still in Ocala. He's doing well. He's sort of training over there, pre-training and stuff like that. It's a different sort of a system over there, the way they do it. But To be on the phone to him every now and then, talking about stuff. And I actually went over to him the summer before I started in race. I think I started in race in September of 2012 or something like that. I went over to him for 2 or 3 months over to Ocala. I didn't even know how to put on a head collar and stuff. And he was sort of showing me how, that's the tail and that's the head, pretty much everything. I didn't just want to go to the race, know nothing about horses. So I really wanted to just learn a little bit before going. And pretty much that's it.
And why Australia? I know you said you didn't want to go to England. You could have easily gone to the States as well. And first question, why Australia? And secondly, it must have been a big culture shock. You went out there very young age on your own. Must have taken a while to settle in. Must have been a massive culture shock.
Yeah, I think initially I wanted to go to America, but it was very expensive and very time consuming to get a visa. And I was very adamant to I wanted to be there now, just be an apprentice right now. And I think it was Warren O'Connor who first initially said to me, who was the jockey coach. He said to me, Tom Sadler was over in Ireland for a little bit, who was Australian trainer's son. Why don't you go over there and have a crack? And I initially didn't really want to go over there because I just thought the whole getting up at 3:30 in the morning just didn't seem appealing to me. And then I just said to him, I can't go over there. I can't be getting up at 3:30 in the morning, And he was like, you get up at 3:30 in the morning if you're getting up and going and driving to the races and having 5 rides. So I was like, yeah, all right, that sounds good to me. So I went over initially and went to Melbourne, and I was with John Sadler and riding out with Tom and stuff like that for a month. And there was sort of a waiting list to get the apprentice license in Melbourne. They've got a whole sort of apprentice school system as well, similar to over in Ireland. And after a couple of weeks, I could see that it was going to be, over 12 months before I could get a license. So I decided to go to Sydney, where it was a little bit easier to get a license and stuff like that. So I sort of made the switch to Sydney, and I had my license within a few months, and I was racing away.
And Robbie ended up going to Mark Newnum, who, of course, was a big part of Gay Waterhouse's team for a number of years. He just gone out on his own, and time was good to get in there, I'd say.
It was. I sort of seen a lot of resemblance between Mark and sort of when I first joined Adrian's as well. Adrian was just starting out training and stuff like that, and I had a lot of success with Adrian, a lot of fun with Adrian. And Mark was similar. He just finished working for Gay for all those years and just got his trainer's license out, and he had 10, 15 horses max, and was there was a lot of hype about the whole stable and stuff like that. He just had his first winner, and I was riding a bit of freelance, just riding out for anyone I could. I was riding 15 lots one morning in 30-degree heat, and he came up to me and asked me, would you like to be apprentice? Somebody said, you want to be apprentice? And I said, yeah, definitely. I'd love to be apprentice to you. And he said, all right, you're starting tomorrow afternoon shift. And so that was it. That's where it started.
And how big an influence was he? Because he's a very good horseman. He rode himself until late in his career. He obviously tutored you along the right lines.
Yeah, great horseman. He used to ride work with us most mornings and stuff like that. He still rides work today. He goes out and rides some work, and he's great crack to have around. He's more of one of the boys, than the boss. But if you do need to be pulled into line, he's well able to do that as well. But no, great mentor, great friend, and sort of just took me in as one of his own as well. And there was a whole sort of a family vibe about the stable as well. He had his family working in there sometimes on the weekends, and his sister was there. And, it was sort of being that far away from home by yourself. It was, great to be involved with the stable as well.
How big a culture shock was the race riding over there? You've gone from Ireland, you've had 100 rides, a couple of winners in England, and we've got some unusual tracks. They're a bit more man-made tracks there, but the style of racing out of the gates, it's where it's all at. Is it the first 200 meters?
Yeah, 100%. The first furlong, races are won or lost over here. like crazy. You got to be out into your position, giving no one a split second to do it. And I have noticed in Ireland it's a lot more. You jump and you just sort of take your time, get into your posse, and the race starts to build up. And whereas over here it's sort of, each race is different, but most of the races are one at the start where you're just out into your spot and you're sort of depending on what sort of pace is in the race and how the tracks are running. And it's just a lot more fast paced, I think, over here. But I've learned a lot, even like some of the jockeys have come over, like Tom Markman, for example. He said he's learned a lot and he's come on as a rider a lot since riding here. So yeah, very, very fortunate to be sort of riding here in the metropolitan level. They've got the races split into 3 levels, which is the metropolitan level, which is sort of racing for the very high prize money in the Group 1s and stuff like that. Then the provincial meetings are sort of mid-tier prize money, sort of a little bit, an hour plus away from the city. And then the country is obviously the low end prize money, which is like 2 or 3 hours plus, sometimes 4 or 5 or 6 hours away from the city. So I sort of started out in the country riding there, and I rode out my apprentice claim there, had 80 winners and you ride out your claim. Then you move into the provincials, and same thing, you got to sort of ride out your claim before you can move into the city. So it's good in the sense you're sort of going in there into the city, riding against like James McDonald and Hugh Bowman and Karen McAvoy and stuff like that. And you've ridden, 150 winners and stuff like that. So, it's a very good system they've got over here for the young riders.
They do indeed. And you're champion apprentice in Sydney.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be champion apprentice twice. I won it the first year I was riding in town. And then the second year, I was trying my best to reach the 50 winners for the season, 50 Metro winners for the season. And I got suspended for the last couple of weeks of the season. So I couldn't reach it. I was devastated. I got like 49 or something like that. But I was very lucky to win it twice, and had so much support all year long.
No messing with stewards in Australia. It's not days, it's weeks. If you do anything wrong,
that's it. Yeah, no, it's not days, it's weeks. Yeah, they're very strict. There's a two length rule over here. I'm not sure. I'm actually not too sure what way the rules work at home at the moment, but it's
we will show you videos of Irish Champions Weekend. You'll get a vibe for it.
That'll explain all.
2 lengths. You got to be 2 lengths crossing. You got to look all the time when you're crossing. If you're not 2 lengths clear, even if you're a length and 3/4 clear, and they don't even check, but their horse, sort of gets away from the other horse. You'd be getting time for that. And the more I ride over here, the more I see like why the rules are in place. You don't, at the end of the day, you don't want anyone falling, coming down, stuff like that. But they're a lot different than the stewards at home, I'll tell you that much.
And it surely makes you a better rider, does it, Robbie?
I think so. I've come on leaps and bounds since I've come over here. Like, obviously I was still very young when I was riding in Ireland as well, and I've matured a lot since coming over here. But just the whole system, the way they ride, it's a dog eat dog world. You gotta jump, get into your posse, take no prisoners, or you're not gonna make anything. You gotta make things happen and not let things happen for you.
And Robbie, you're a natural lightweight as well. No weight issues. You can do in European terms or in Ireland, England terms, you could do around 8 stone, yeah?
Yeah. At the moment, I weigh about 49 kilos, 50 kilos, something like that. So convert that into stone. I was always able to claim the 10 off the bottom weight in Ireland. So I still haven't filled out. I eat like a horse, so I don't really know what's going on there. But grateful, especially over here in the Sydney Carnival. Lots of them big Group 1 handicaps. There's lightweight rides at bottom weight, and not many people can ride them. So it's good sort of to have that up my sleeve, you know.
And you're in a great position to be able to do the bottom weights and eat as you like and as much as you want. You've no weight worries. That's an ideal situation. Fran was probably the only one a bit like you, was he?
Fran used to have a Big Mac on the way to the races, I'd say, did he?
I wish I do now, though.
But it puts you in a very enviable position, because we all know that so many flat jockeys struggle with their weight, and for you to do light weights, basically eating what you want, it's very like Wayne Lorden actually over here, Rory Cleary. It puts you in a great position.
Yeah, it does. You know, especially with the sort of the liquids and stuff like that. You know, it gets very hot here during the summer, and the boys are wasting there, and they can't even have a drop of water, and it's 40 degrees out. You know, whereas I'm necking 2 bottles of water there, and vitamin tablets and bloody, you know, a can of Red Bull there, and working away with a sandwich and an apple. You know what I mean? And lads can't even have a drop of water. So it's good mentally as well. You know, you don't have to be worrying like, oh, I need to get down. I need to lose 2 ticks now for tomorrow. Whereas me, I never have to worry about that. It's more like, you know, I can focus on my form. I can focus on my speed maps and stuff like that instead of worrying about my weight coming race day.
And Robbie, could you ever have imagined when you moved to Australia those years ago how well it would have gone?
No, I couldn't have managed. Couldn't have imagined. Sort of, you know, I wanted to just come out and have a crack. There wasn't too many apprentices, you know, international Irish apprentices or whatnot coming over. I think I was probably the first, to be honest, that really done it. And yeah, it was 50-50 whether I was coming or not. It was just like, I really wanted to do it, but in the back of my mind, I was like I actually was just starting to get a few rides, like a few winners at home. And, you know, Adrian was sort of starting to put me on a few more. And I just really thought to myself, like, I'm not good enough to be riding here right now. And I need to go somewhere to like really enhance my, you know, riding abilities and stuff like that. And I just thought even if I went here for 12 months, I'd learn about, I always heard about people saying like, oh, you go and you learn times, riding times in the mornings, and you learn about, you know, horses' injuries in their legs. And I've learned all of that since I've come over here. And it sort of put me in good stead going forward from everything I learned back home in Ireland as well. So I put them together.
And Robbie, you obviously are a very determined and driven young man.
Well, yeah, I think we all are, you know, sort of, we all started at the bottom of the ladder, just wanting to get our first winner. And then when you have your first winner, all you want to do is get your second winner. And I think I've always been like aiming for something a little bit higher, I suppose. And yeah, we'll just keep going and see how far we can get.
And one of your first jockey's agents when you went over there, managers as you call them over there, was an ex-jockey, an ex-Australian jockey who would be quite familiar to the older Irish people watching in this evening, was Wayne Harris, because he was stable jockey to Kevin Prendergast and the Curragh back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, Wayne was a legend. He Melbourne Cup winning jockey, and just a good friend of mine. He was my manager all the way through my apprenticeship, and we had loads of success together. And he used to tell me some mad stories at the time he was in Ireland. I probably won't say them on this, but he's sound out. And he had a lot of health issues over the years, and still does have a lot of health issues, and that's why I've moved on to another manager now. But still really good friends and an unbelievable jockey back in the day, and gave me lots of advice over my time with him.
And Robbie, your mum and dad, Paula and Bobby, they must be so proud of you. Obviously, they're still living in Kildare town in Ireland. You were saying in one of your interviews that your dad, he never misses a ride. He's up watching Australian racing during the night every night that you're riding. Yeah,
he does. He sets his alarm, gets up at mad hours of the night and watches the races. And my mother watches the recordings then in the morning time. So, the Australian racing is, you know, it's great that they actually still show it on at the races and stuff in the mornings. And sometimes my father gets up to watch the races and like they'll be cantering down to the gates, and next thing it just switch to Hong Kong racing. He's after getting up for no reason. Sometimes the Hong Kong racing kicks in, so he does be getting angry over that. So you might be able to sort that out, keep the Australian racing on for him. But yeah, I better give my mother a shout out as well. She she's always ringing me and going down to the church and lighting candles for me and everything. She was giving out to me the other day because I didn't give her a shout out in my interview. So.
And Robbie, just on that family team, obviously 2 years of pandemic, you're just out of a lockdown in Sydney. That must be tough that you can't go home. I know it's a long way, but to have the opportunity to come home and, you did mention that in your interview, especially when you're injured, I'd say that must have been tough. Yeah,
100%. Sort of, it's been a long year for the whole family. We lost our, obviously, grandfather at the start of the year and our grandmother as well. So it was sort of sitting here watching the bloody funerals over Facebook live video, so it was pretty bizarre that you can't just fly home for a week and come back. So hopefully now everything's starting to come back to normal. We're all slowly starting to get double vaccinated over here. So hopefully we can, get back to normal hopefully next year.
And even though Sydney's out of lockdown, the jockeys are not, is that right? You're telling us off air that you're still in your own bubble type thing.
Yeah, we are. It's only been the last few days. Like I've had to move away from home, away from my partner and the dogs and the house and everything, sort of in towards Randwick, living in a little apartment there, and we weren't allowed, leave or go to the shops. Everything has to be delivered to us, and they're just taking no risks. And they really wanted the racing industry to keep going during everything. And thankfully, we're just slowly starting to ease up now. I was able to just move home on Monday there, and we're still in our own bubble. I'm still not allowed to go to the shops and stuff like that. But hopefully now in the next couple of weeks, once the carnival, fizzles out, we'll slowly be allowed to get back to normal.
Have you set yourself any other targets? What's the next on the wish list? What's the next aim after gaining that first Group 1 winner, Robbie?
I'd love to ride another one. I think you're only as good as your last ride, and I think if I can win another Group 1 as well, especially on another horse who's not as special as Profondo, that'll make me very happy. Just prove to people that it wasn't just a horse as well. So I'd love to ride another Group 1, and obviously, I think every jockey's goal is to try and win champion jockey, but it's going to be very hard when you have James McDonald in the same room as you. He's one of the best ever. So we'll see.
And who was the Australian jockey or jockeys that you looked up to? Who did you try and model yourself on? Who were your role models when you arrived in Australia?
I think sort of J-Mac and Tommy Berry are the two who, they're like, if you look at them, they're just so polished in their racing. They ride so different to all the other sort of Australian, New Zealand sort of riders. And I've got such a different style to all the jockeys over here. I ride a lot loose and stuff like that. And they ride real sort of tight and compact, but they're so polished. And I think like James is only 26 or something like that, and he's already after riding 51 Group 1 winners. So he's he's on the verge of breaking all the records and stuff like that. So I think if you're not looking up to the likes of James McDonald, I think you're doing it wrong.
Big time. He, of course, rode in Ireland for a while, James McDonald, and obviously very, very successful. And Robbie, future plans, would you like, obviously home now is Australia, but at some point would you like to come back up and do a summer back in Europe and check in with everybody, or would that be in your mindset?
Yeah, I would. I'd love to actually go back and ride in Ireland for a little while, even if it was only for a couple of months or something like that, just to just further your experience. I obviously rode back there for a while, but I rode when I didn't have a clue what was going on. So just now that I know a little bit more and might be of use to some trainers back there, but at the moment I think I'll definitely be staying put here. But just for my own personal sense, I'd love to go back and ride a winner there again.
Well, Robbie, if you need an agent, there's a man on the couch there to help you out anyway.
Well, you have
He's
me
not
number
biting,
now.
Fran,
Anyway.
is he? He's not biting, Fran, is he? He's not biting.
He obviously knows about.
It was a bad line. I couldn't hear you. Now.
You obviously heard about his fee structure, Robbie. Oh no, it's been really good, Kev.
Yeah, no, Robbie, great to catch up with you. Thanks for taking the time out from your busy schedule. What time is it over there, actually?
It's past my bedtime now. It's 10 to 11 at night.
10 to 11.
But yeah.
No, we really appreciate you taking the time out. Great to catch up. And as I say, it's brilliant to see you ride your hopefully first of many Group 1 winners. And just those pictures and videos that we saw, the emotion, it's no money can buy that feeling.
Yeah, no, thanks very much for having me. And yeah, hopefully we can have another chat again soon.
Good stuff. And when you come over next summer, I'll have the forms ready for you to sign out.
On that note, Robbie, be prepared.
No problemo. I'll be there.